Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. It's been a little while. We've had a lot to do over the last few months, but we wanted to get things started up once again. I do have a new PC now instead of using my old laptop, so we're back underway and we're ready to get started with our first video in a long time. I'm KP. I've got Nick joined alongside me here because we are today going to be going through our predictions for the Royal Rumble event coming up in Indianapolis this coming Saturday, February the 1st, at the Luxor Stadium. So this is going to be an interesting one. We love the Royal Rumble. Loads of people do. It's one of the biggest events of the year, and it's something that I personally am very, very excited for. I'm assuming, Nick, yourself, you're absolutely buzzed for this one as well, buddy. What are your thoughts going into this Royal Rumble at the moment? Just initial anticipation for the event.
Yeah, I think the last couple of Royal Rumbles have kind of been a bit of a letdown, in my opinion, anyways. This one feels like it has a chance to be something really big, really special. The men's side is absolutely stacked, to a point where I have no idea who's going to win. We have, of course, we have our theories, and we'll go through those. But yeah, I'm not confident at all who's going to win, and that's a great thing. It's a great thing for Royal Rumble. You love going in and not really knowing who's going to win. And I also think this is probably the last year we'll have one night of the Royal Rumble, much like SummerSlam, much like WrestleMania. I have a hard time believing that this won't fall in that same category of worthy of a two-night event. And what better way to do that, or to make that worthy of happening by having an excellent Rumble this year, and then next year would assume we would do men's night one, women's night two, or vice versa. But yeah, I'm really excited.
That is a good point you bring up there because of the two nights thing they seem to be doing, obviously with WrestleMania over the last few years, and now with SummerSlam in the horizon. Yeah, maybe they could go down that route with Royal Rumble, perhaps. I'm not sure if it's something that I would like to see, but I think if there is an event that's going to do it, this does make sense. Royal Rumble is just over an hour long, depending obviously what happens towards the later stages. But yeah, I think this is one of the events that actually genuinely could actually merit that sort of style. But how about we go into the match card itself for this year, 2025. Let's break things down here as we get started with our first match, which we're going to be talking about is the Women's Rumble match. So 30 women all looking to book their spot at WrestleMania. In terms of the women that have already been announced, I don't have like the completely most up-to-date list, but I know that the likes of Nia Jax, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, they've all announced so far. I don't have ones up until this Monday, so I don't know if there's any more that per se, Nick. But in terms of the Women's Royal Rumble match, I think that there are some names in here that you could argue that could potentially be deserving of a Royal Rumble win. Just looking at the general roster itself, I think you can maybe make the case for someone like Io Sky. You can make the case for maybe someone like for someone like Jade Cargill, potentially. That could be something very, very interesting there on that sense. And then, there are some opportunities here for a really, really good return. In terms of who is going to win, I can't say for definite who I think, but if I had to go with a gut reaction, I would go with Io Sky. But yeah, what about you, Nick? Is there anybody that you think definitely 100% that you think is going to win this matchup, or are you a little bit maybe on the fence and just waiting a couple more days to make a full decision?
I think similar to the men's, I don't think it's obvious, and I think the reasons that it's not obvious is different from the men. I think the men's is simply because of how many worthy people there are, and not to say that there aren't a bunch of worthy women as well. It's just that I think a good portion of the most worthy are going to be surprises. So we can start with that too. But I think Charlotte, which now we know she will be there, but a couple of weeks ago we didn't. And so I think Charlotte is the one that makes the most sense. I think her coming back, she's not going to come back and quickly get eliminated, obviously, and especially if she depends on how she comes back as a face or heel. But I feel like her winning and then having the most obvious opponent in what I believe to be Tiffany Stratton, you can have a long feud with her and help build her and maybe toss the title back and forth once or twice. And what better way to continue her rocketing momentum than having her beat Charlotte. So I think that to me makes the most sense. There are obviously other people I wouldn't mind winning here, but I think Charlotte appears to be the most obvious.
With a Charlotte Flair victory, she would be the first woman in WWE to win 2 Royal Rumble matches. Obviously, there's been several different winners so far up until this point. So, I mean, yeah, a returning Charlotte Flair, I would have liked to have seen it be a surprise. I think it would have been, a much bigger moment for it to happen like that. Why they revealed it, a couple of weeks ago with a couple of vignettes, one each week, I don't really see the complete benefit for that. I think, her coming back would have been like a crazy moment and stuff. Like, people were sort of thinking it would happen. Like there was a slight expectation there, but there was no sort of like guarantee, which obviously that opens up for a lot of like surprise moments and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I personally would have had it as a surprise. But Charlotte Flair coming back and winning the Rumble, going on to face Tiffany Stratton, does make a lot of sense. It does sound like something they would probably be doing. And I think that would, like you said, it would really sort of like put Tiff in the spotlight even further than she already is, which sort of elevates her position even further. Obviously, being so over with the crowd at the moment, a lot of people behind her. I think it would be a good place for her to get into with someone so big as Charlotte Flair. She's one of the biggest names in women's wrestling. So yeah, that would be tremendous for Tiffany Stratton. She's just been put on this rocket since coming up to the main roster, women's Money in the Bank winner, now the women's champion. And obviously, it's all about building these feuds going forward from here and like making her title reign really, really, tremendous. And this would be a great way of doing that for sure. Regarding like people surprise entrants, returns, who are you hoping to see in this Royal Rumble? Because I've got a few names down here, so I want to see what you're thinking on top of your head at the moment.
So I have a list. I think you still technically it would be a surprise in Jordan Grace. I think that's almost a lock. Had Charlotte, but now that's been announced. I think Becky Lynch is pretty much a guarantee as well. Roxanne Perez, I think, also, you call that a surprise, I suppose. And I'm sure we'll get a few more NXT ladies up there as well. And, no complaints from either of us, I'm sure. Jade Cargill, I think if you're going to bring her back, if she's healthy, I think now is the time to do that, to kickstart whatever, story you're going to do with that for Mania. I think it makes most sense as long as she's healthy. And on that same kind of logic, Asuka is one. Haven't heard a word about her. I hope this is her return. And then I think kind of 2 that are up in the air, and I think probably one of the most desired is Alexa Bliss, regardless of what the reports say. I think they might be throwing us for a loop on that one. And then I think probably the biggest ask in everyone's head is AJ Lee. I think if we even get half of those, I think it'll be a great Rumble. But those are the ones I had on my list. What about you, KB?
Yeah, I think Alexa Bliss is someone that I think could definitely be in this Royal Rumble match. I think, like you said a moment ago, with the reports on the socials recently, I do think it's a bit of a curveball. I think they're basically just planting that to basically say, you know what, she's not coming back. You guys got to stop getting your hopes up. And then she appears at the Rumble, then everyone's surprised, like, oh, she is here. Like, this is insane. Yeah, I'm very much in the side. I think it's very convenient that these reports are coming out like a week or 2 before the Rumble, and I think it's very nicely placed from WWE. So I think they are planning to bring her back at the Royal Rumble match. That's just my gut opinion, my gut feeling. I think that's what they're going to be doing. I was going to say Asuka until she did some tweets last night, and I actually kind of now don't think she will be there. This can be cut out of the video with editing. But basically, last night she tweeted saying some really crazy things about how she's worried for her safety and she's worried about people interacting with her in public and like romantic sort of situations there. Sort of something similar to if you cast back to Sonya Deville from a number of years ago. Obviously, maybe not as extreme as that, but it seems like Asuka's got something maybe more important going on at the moment with her just general mentality and safety and, making sure she's okay. So I think I was going to say Asuka, but I'm thinking maybe not now because it seems to be something a lot more important for her to take care of before coming back. So she had been out for a long time. Her injury back in, I think it was May last year. I can't remember which one. I think it was May. So she's been out for a long time. So I thought, oh, she's probably a staple, shoo-in for it. But yeah, unfortunately, she's got some big things going on. So hopefully she's going to be okay. Becky Lynch I had as well, the same as you, 100%. I think she's going to be coming back in. She seems to be, a no-brainer for that. And then, yeah, definitely Jordan Grace. I think she'll be coming into the Rumble. Can't see why not. And AJ Lee, I think, is one that I'm on the fence about. I would love to see her in it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's just my initial feeling. But then you got the likes of like all the women from NXT. Yeah, you got like your Fallon Henleys, your Julias, your Stephanie Vicares. I think they could be involved. Roxanne Perez as well. So yeah, there are definitely a few women there that I think we could get some surprise entrants for. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it adds a nice little extra bit of depth to the Royal Rumble match.
I had not heard about the Asuka stuff, and honestly, that's disappointing on many levels. One being the biggest concern is her safety. You hate to hear that with anyone, especially with someone of the caliber of Asuka, who has, I don't think you can argue is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. So that's disappointing, and that puts a damper on my next subject as well. Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I don't think anyone can argue this either, is her safety, obviously. But with that being said, I'm going to have to change mine on the fly a little bit because I did have Asuka in my final four. Who are you thinking will be the final four on the women's side?
Tremendous question. I think it's a very difficult one to predict considering the names that could possibly be in this Rumble. It seems to be quite stacked from our predictions here. I would say my final four would probably be my winner, Io Sky. That's who I'm thinking of winning. She has to be in the final four, surely. I'm thinking Bayley could be in there as well, purely because, I think maybe Io eliminating Bayley to win the Rumble, that kind of just feels like, I don't know, like a little bit of a throwback to last year where obviously Bayley won the Rumble, went to WrestleMania, defeated Io for the women's title. I feel like maybe that's sort of like a payback a little bit from that, but that could be another option there, Bayley in the final four. And then I'm thinking maybe Charlotte Flair and just go power crazy with maybe someone like Becky Lynch or maybe a returning Alexa Bliss. I would probably stick towards Becky. So maybe Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, and Io. That could be my final four. What about you?
Yeah, so originally I had Asuka in there. Gonna adjust that, and I'm gonna put I think I'm gonna put Bayley in there, but I think Bayley and Io could interchange. Whichever one eliminates the other, I think that can be who's in the final four between those two. Clearly, they're gonna continue that. So final answer would be Bayley, and then Jordan Grace. I think if she does end up debuting and putting her in the final four will be a huge boost to her. And then Bianca, I think. I'm banking on that Naomi is responsible for Jade and they cause each other's eliminations. And so I think Bianca remains unscathed. And just because Bianca, booked as strongly as she has since coming up, I think she's kind of a shoe in there. And then Charlotte, both returning, obviously. And I also have her being kind of the Iron Woman, so to speak. Hopefully they don't do the 1 or 2 to the end because as you well know, that's a pet peeve of mine, and they do it every year, and it kind of loses its meaning a little bit. But yeah, those are my four.
Solid four. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, I'm interested to see how it plays out. That could be very well maybe the opening match of the night, and if it does go down like that, then sounds great to me. How about we move along now then onto our second topic of conversation here, which is going to be for the WWE Tag Team Championships. We've got DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano putting the titles on the line against Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns. Got to make sure I say that name properly because sometimes it doesn't come out quite right. But yeah, this should be a quality classic match. It's going to be 2 out of 3 falls. So you put these guys in a match anyway in the ring together, they're going to deliver something that's going to be pretty damn good. But 2 out of 3 falls on a PLE. This is the first time a tag team title has been defended on a PLE since WrestleMania of last year, WrestleMania 40. That was in that ladder match. So it's been a long time coming. The tag team titles haven't really been shown a lot of respect and love recently. Maybe this is WWE's way of saying, we can actually get them on the shows when the booking's right. I mean, I don't know what's going on Raw. Their tag team division is just not that great. But when it comes to SmackDown, they do seem to be elevating a lot of teams at the same time, all in the mix, all fighting, all working for their place. And it's Motor City Machine Guns who have been just booked to the moon since coming on into WWE. They won the Tag Team Championships, I think, in their second or third night, something like that, very, very quick. And they held the gold for, I think it was about a month or so, just maybe a little bit longer. Losing to DIY, obviously, during that heel turn, Tommaso Ciampa edging Gargano into making that decision. And yeah, we lead to this point here. There's been Pretty Deadly involved. There's been Los Garza involved. There's been Street Profits involved. And it's just come down to these two now in that 2 3 Falls match. This should be a classic. How much are you looking forward to this one? Because I think personally this could be a little bit of a sleeper to be like match of the night, perhaps. I can't see why it wouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be surprised, I guess, is my quick response. Being better than, one or both of the Rumbles would be, that would have to be, in my opinion, a hell of a match. But I think if anyone could do it, I think, these guys in the ring, obviously, are certainly capable. And as you mentioned, the tag division always seems to be an issue, I think, just due to the size of the roster on any show. But it feels like, there are some things building here with the two teams here. And then, I think it's too early to take it back off DIY. But I think there are, I don't know. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place on this one. I don't see any issues with, Motor City Machine Guns winning it back. But I think if they do that, I think the heel turn kind of looks weak. So that's kind of my only reasoning. It's not a great reasoning, but I think there are a lot of teams also sitting here between Pretty Deadly and Street Profits kind of waiting, and LWO also kind of just waiting in the wing here. I think it's best to keep it on DIY and then kind of let chaos ensue for probably 4 or 5 teams at Mania. I think that's kind of where I'm at with this one.
I happen to agree with you. I think the DIY winning and retaining their championships here probably is the right move. I also agree. I don't mind if it goes the other way. MCMG, winning the titles back off of them. I don't have the biggest problem with it, but I think the same reason as you, though, that the heel turn for DIY has to mean something for a while. I don't think that it's been enough time to really validate those reasons just yet. So, yeah, give it a little bit longer before we maybe make some more rash decisions. But for now, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano defending these titles successfully against MCMG. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's absolutely fine. And, yeah, I mean, like I say, just looking forward to a really, really good match between these 4 men. I'm really excited. Genuinely, really, really keen for this one to take place. But, yeah, I agree with you. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa for the win, retain their championships. So let's move along now then, guys, into our third match of the show. And this one is a pretty big one. This is for the WWE Undisputed Championship. I guess you could say it's also for the WWE Championship, the Winged Eagle title. Kevin Owens seems to be, parading around thinking that he is the rightful champion. I happen to agree. But we won't talk about that right here, right now. Let's talk about the match itself. So Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. Cody Rhodes, the actual, on paper, WWE Undisputed Champion. This is going to be a ladder match between the two men. We know that this feud has been going on for some time now. I mean, they actually had a match back at Bash of Berlin, mid last year. They had a little bit of time in between where they were still friends. That obviously led over to later in the year where they would have another match. They would go to Saturday night's main event, KO hitting that big power driver, and then, just eventually just building up towards this moment where the two have just hated each other. Former friends now turned bitter enemies. And this should be a quality contest too. I can't see why this wouldn't be a good match. I love a good ladder match. And yeah, I'm excited to see these two throw down and, get personal with both belts hanging above the ring. As regards to who's going to win this one, I mean, I've got no real doubts. I'm pretty sure Cody Rhodes is going to beat Kevin Owens. But, I mean, WWE have planted some seeds recently regarding other situations regarding this contest, specifically Sami Zayn and his altercation with Kevin Owens in the ring on Monday Night Raw, as to whether maybe he could maybe lend a helping hand to Kevin Owens. Do you really think there's anything in that? Do you think that's maybe just a way of, maybe making people think that, there is a chance Kevin Owens could win this match? Or do you think it's all a bit of, they're actually just telling us, this is actually how it's going to go down. Sami's going to come in and help Kevin out here.
No, I appreciate what they're doing. But I think, to me, it's inevitable. Cody's going to win. You know, and I think they're going to do KO versus Sammy for Mania. I think that if not, then Randy Orton's also sitting here waiting, assuming he's healthy. A lot of those if statements during today, but yeah, I think Randy's waiting. If Randy's not healthy, then I think absolutely they're going to go the KO Sammy route. And who wouldn't want to see that? So for that reason, because I think KO is either going to be with Sammy or with Randy. And I don't think that's going to be for a title, because I think based on last Monday, I think Cody is getting ready for Punk. More on that later, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for the majority of that. I personally don't see a Sammy Kevin match at Mania without a championship, purely because they had one a few years ago. But I suppose, a rematch, I guess, on Mania, Kevin Owens against Sammy is always a good match anyway. So I don't really have a big problem with that. But I think, if they're going to do it again, I think it does need to be for a championship, at least to have something on the line to make it a bit more worth it. Not to say that it isn't worth it. Maybe that's the wrong choice of words, but do you understand what I mean? Just to sort of raise those stakes and make it a bit more of a high level match, or get more eyes on it, perhaps you could say. Raise the interest and stock of it. But yeah, I think Randy Orton is going to be a key factor here. Obviously, Kevin Owens turning on Randy, late last year, and basically blaming him in everything that went down, and him not having his back. So I think, yeah, Randy is probably a shoo-in to get involved here and to help out Cody and to just get a bit of payback on Kevin Owens. It just makes perfect sense after obviously the power driver that he delivered to Randy later on last year. So yeah, Kevin Owens unfortunately probably won't win this match. Cody Rhodes will. I think that's essentially the giveaway here. That's probably what's going to go down. I'd be surprised that anything else happened.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I'd love to see KO win, and if not, then Cody turning heel. But to not go down that rabbit hole, I think the only thing I hate about KO losing, aside from the obvious, is just the work he's doing with that hypothetical title is incredible, and I'm gonna be sad to see it end already, because I feel like we could do a ton more with it, especially if he were able to keep this and then go up against Sammy, as you said. If that's your issue with that one, not having a title for it, obviously that would be big. And playing devil's advocate here, if Cody were to lose, a big if again, but based on what we saw on Monday with him and Punk, I think you could argue that easily a feud we could have without a title. So it works both sides, I guess. But yeah, my gut tells me Cody, though.
Yeah, I agree on all counts. Yeah, I think Cody against CM Punk could be non-title. I think that's big enough to not have any titles involved, which does open the door for Kevin Owens to win. But yeah, I think it's the gut feeling. Cody winning here does make sense to me from WWE's that understanding. Having him going on to WrestleMania, being in that main event, probably against the Royal Rumble winner, I would assume, which I feel is a nice segue into what we're going to be talking about next, which is the men's Royal Rumble match. And obviously we've spoken about the women's one already. This is the other side of the coin. The men's Rumble is something that I have less of a solid opinion on, comparatively speaking, to that of the women's one. I feel like with the women's one, I went to EO Sky just because I can see some understanding in there. I don't know why there's a bit of clear vision for me as to having a decent opinion. But for this one, I'm all over the place, or I at least was until this week, because I think on Monday morning I woke up, I had a proper think about everything, and I said to myself, I think CM Punk's winning the Rumble. Then I watched Monday Night Raw, and I saw the interaction between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. They had a bit of a promo together, they had a back and forth, and it seems to be that that's what they're building towards this year. Cody against CM Punk. I know you mentioned that a moment ago. And it just seems to be what they're going to be doing. Like I say, it doesn't have to be for a title, but considering you got Cody with title on the line at Royal Rumble, you've also got Punk in the Rumble, the stars align, you get Punk winning the Rumble, you get Cody at WrestleMania, and he challenges him for said championship. Punk gets to main event WrestleMania, which is obviously his big thing at the moment. He hasn't done that in his career. He's never won the Royal Rumble. This knocks off 2 ticks off his checklist, and everything just seems to make sense with that regard. Do you think that CM Punk is winning as well? Is that the name that you're going for? Because that is who I think is going to win. I'd have people over him by some way. There's names on here I could read out for a good 29 people that I would rather have win over him. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think Punk as well?
Yeah, and I feel like, and this is why, and I think without going too far into this, this is why the order of which that I've arranged this makes most sense. Because I think obviously if Cody loses, but whoever loses the match before it or whenever that match takes place between Cody and KO, I think could play a huge part in this. So if Cody loses, I absolutely 100% do not think CM Punk would win because for whatever reason, that's what they've decided. It appears that appears to be the direction they're going. So, and then if KO loses, I think he could come in and cause havoc for whoever's in the final four as well. I haven't actually picked a winner for this because Punk seems like the most obvious answer, but I really think it's going to be Drew, Roman, or John Cena, because give him the opportunity to go after that last title. And yes, I know you have the Elimination Chamber option as well, but I don't like any of those. I don't think it makes sense for Punk at this point of his career to win. And yes, you could say the same thing about John, but John's fresh. John hasn't been around, hasn't been fighting nonstop like Punk has. I guess we could use that phrase loosely, nonstop, but still, yeah. Put a gun to my head right now, I pick Drew. I pick Drew. I think Drew deserves it the most. I think Drew is just in with everyone right now, and I think he deserves, and maybe it's just wishful thinking, he deserves that main event that he never got, whether it be due to the COVID era or getting 5 seconds of spotlight due to of course CM Punk. So if what better way to kind of put a bow on that final bit between Drew and Punk for them to both be in the final four and Drew to eliminate Punk.
Well, I much prefer the scenario that you just painted a picture of than where I was going to be going next. I think Drew McIntyre would be a solid shout to win the Rumble. It's someone that I have, been so fascinated by in the last year, hoping that he is going to achieve something that he deserves to achieve. Like, he's obviously been the world champion, but like you said, Punk ruined that within 5 minutes. And, that was it after that. Chasing titles, not winning them, big rivalry with Punk, getting not a lot out of it, suffering some big losses since then that maybe he could have won. I feel bad for the guy because he deserves way better. But let me throw out some names here because I just want to put a little thing out here because you've got some names here. You've got likes of John Cena. John Cena obviously in this retirement year, and he can go on to do so much this year. He can, like you said, he could win the Elimination Chamber. He could win the Royal Rumble. He could win a title at WrestleMania. He could win Money in the Bank later in the year. There's so many options and so many chances for him to get that lottery ticket, as he called it, when he made that appearance at the start of the year. So I think John Cena's name I want to put out there. How likely is it that we'll see him winning the Royal Rumble? Another name I want to put out there is Roman Reigns, someone who has, obviously been a champion for so long and hasn't been out of the championship picture for that long, only since WrestleMania 40 last year. And, he's looking to obviously, get back his championship. But there also comes that added question mark over him, Paul Heyman, CM Punk, with that favor. And I want to know what that results to. Is that something that could be linked in with the Rumble here? Does that affect Roman Reigns? Is it only for Punk's benefit? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that could be asked and answered there regarding that. And then another name I want to put out there is actually Sami Zayn. So Sami, in the last 2 weeks, has had interactions with the following people. He's had interactions with Seth freaking Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Karrion Kross of all people, which we know what happens when you talk to someone like Karrion Kross. We've seen stuff that he's done recently. Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. To have interactions and to be intertwined in stories with 6 different people in 2 weeks, that's odd. That doesn't happen ever. You correct me on that one if you can. I just want to know why so much is sort of like revolving here around Sami Zayn and the significance that he has in every single person that I just mentioned. And that doesn't even mention the bloodline. Doesn't even mention Roman Reigns. Doesn't mention Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso. And obviously everything that goes on with them. He's had situations with them very, very recently, literally as far as last month, as close as last month. So there is a whole lot going on here. And yeah, just those names there. I want to just, get your thoughts on those 3. John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn. What exactly are your thoughts on regarding those three? I was going to include Drew McIntyre, but obviously you already covered him.
Yeah, and I think you could argue something similar, not to the effect of Sami Zayn, but Drew's kind of been in that same kind of limbo thing where I feel like his is not as meaningful as Sami's though. But Drew's just been fighting anyone and everyone too. You could argue with the results haven't been really in his favor. But yeah, this is I feel like the women's is somewhat predictable, but I feel like the men's, you could name 5 or 6 people here, and we haven't even talked about, I didn't have him in my final four, but I think Seth being in the final four wouldn't surprise anyone either. If Randy comes back, that wouldn't surprise anyone. AJ Styles, there's talk about Goldberg and all that. It's just wide open. I think with what we've seen, I think CM Punk makes the most sense. But no one's going to bat an eye if it's John Cena, or Roman, or Drew, or Seth either. But I think that's what makes this one so enticing, is the winner is not completely obvious, and maybe this is just our willing it into non-existence, perhaps, that we can do something else besides CM Punk.
I mean, I really don't want it to be CM Punk, but I think, as far as I'm concerned, the stars do align to make him sort of be be the winner of this contest. Regarding the final four that you mentioned a moment ago, I don't think we actually said the final four each. I don't think we have yet, have we? So just want to put my final four out there. I was going to go with CM Punk obviously winning, but my final four would be Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, John Cena, and CM Punk. So I had it going down like Roman finishes fourth by being eliminated by Drew McIntyre. CM Punk would eliminate Drew, and then CM Punk and John Cena would have a little bit of a throwdown for a few minutes, and then Punk would ultimately get the better of Cena, eliminating him. And obviously, so many people are looking to, for Cena to get like a really big year. And I think having him be runner-up in the Royal Rumble just does make a lot of sense, purely for the fact that, he got so close, but he's not quite there yet. And that sort of like maybe, fuels him with a bit of adrenaline, momentum going forward. Maybe looking to, I can do this. I can come second in the Royal Rumble. I'm close. I just need a little bit more. I think that's something where they could go down. But what's your final four?
You can't make this up. I suppose I could, but I'm not. I wish I could show you. I have the same final four. so maybe it's a little more predictable than I thought originally. But I don't think you can replace any of these four with a number of other stars. I just feel like with the star power of Roman, John Cena, and CM Punk in this Rumble, someone's got to lose, and I think it's just a matter of how. I think the Royal Rumble should be used as that stage to ignite whatever you're going to do at Mania. I think if not after this PLE, the week after, I think we should have a somewhat good idea of what Mania is going to look like, at least for the main events, and at least a few other matches. So, and that's why this is one of my favorite PLEs of the year. Yeah, I had the same four, and none of those four winning would be surprising. Yeah, I think Drew's going to win. I don't think they're going to do Roman Cody again, assuming Cody wins. And for whatever reason, people seem to think Punk over Cena. And to be completely honest, I don't really love either of them winning, but I'd rather have Cena than Punk. So take that for what it's worth.
I take it as well. Would not complain at all. Going against what I think would be absolutely fine by me. In terms of like returns for this one, I don't really have much. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to think of things the other day as to who I think could possibly return. I was gonna go with an AJ Styles return. That could possibly happen. There's been a bit quiet on his injury for the last number of months. And then I was thinking maybe Joe Hendry coming on in as the TNA merge. That could be a potential surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble match. But yeah, besides that, I've gone with some very standard names across the board, all active members of the roster, no one even that's been out for probably a couple of weeks at most. So yeah, don't really have much to add on that front, but I don't know if you got maybe a little bit more that you'd be hopeful or expecting of.
Well, hopeful may not be the right word, but the rumblings around Goldberg. If there's one person I don't want to win more than CM Punk, it's Goldberg. So if he's going to be in here, fine. Just please do not let him win. as for other surprises, I think Randy Orton, I think you kind of already mentioned that one. Other ones would be, this is a big one, would I think just to have this person in the match and eliminate, the obvious. If Big E were to return again, if healthy, that would be incredible. And, I'm not asking him to go the distance or anything, just come in and eliminate the New Day would be an all-time moment. And interestingly enough, that could prevent us from doing the Kofi Mania spot because the last couple haven't gone, too well. And now the heel, I'm not sure that he would even do that anyways. Love to see AJ. I think Joe's almost a lock at this point. Ludwig Kaiser, if he's healthy, would be ecstatic to see him back. You could write him in a story. Braun Breaker's already announced for the Rumble, writes itself. Get that elimination or vice versa. And then probably the one outside of those that I'm most hopeful for, which I think it's more realistic than it ever has been, is Matt Cardona. Clearly it helps if your wife is part of the business that you're trying to get into, but it's so long, it's long overdue. It's what he's done both before he left and since he's left is incredible, and he's I just respect everything that he's done in and outside of the ring, and I think he deserves another shot more than most. So yeah, I think that personally would be the one I'd love to see the most.
I certainly wouldn't mind a bit of Matt Cardona in the Rumble. Yeah, I'd quite like to see him. Obviously, the last time we saw him in WWE was Zack Ryder, but he's obviously been over in the Indies. He's been killing it. He's been putting in some hard work, and he's really changed how people sort of see him. So very confident now. Very different to what we used to see. That Long Island Ice Z. That's what it used to go by, wasn't it? But quite a difference of character between then and now, that's for sure. But yeah, I think maybe you got a little bit more hope that Big E would be tremendous. I'd love to see him in the Rumble. That'd be amazing. Obviously that spot with Kofi and Xavier would be iconic. It would be incredible when he eliminates both of them, because obviously that's what would happen, right? You're not going to put Big E to then have Kofi and Xavier eliminate him. Oh, imagine that heat. That would go even crazier. But yeah, no, it would go the other way. Of course it would. Big E eliminate both of them. That would be amazing. I'd love to see that happen. I'm not going to get my hopes up on that one because obviously injuries, you never know how bad they truly are. So yeah, I think I'd love it to happen, but not going to look too far into it. But yeah, I mean, we've got some good options there. Goldberg, hell no, please no. Don't want that to happen. So hopefully that's a no-show. That'd be ideal. That'd be lovely. But there are some options there for sure to maybe make it a little bit more interesting if the luck is on our side. If we've got that little bit of hope that's really gonna happen down. So yeah, I mean Punk or Drew, that's what we're going with here. Hopefully it's Drew. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'll take that. Honestly, hopefully it's anybody except for who I said. That's what I'm happy with here. But I suppose really anything else to note on this one then, Nick, before we go into the outro?
Yeah, so again on the timing of the events, this will be the 7th women's Royal Rumble, of which only 2 have been after the men's, and only one of those actually main evented. And I feel like that's going to be the case here. I think the men's are obviously going to debut. The reason I bring this up is because of the final 4 that we both agreed on. I don't think with those 4 in the ring, you'd be hard pressed to find a better noteworthy kind of situation to end on. To me personally, and again, maybe we're just in the minority, but seeing CM Punk close out after what should be just an incredible Rumble, it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm hoping they kind of throw us all for a loop. As you said, I hope you're wrong. but yeah, either way, it should be a fun night. I want them to make this a noteworthy Rumble again, because the last few haven't been as good. And if tonight's not a good Rumble, or not a good PLE, then I think you kind of struggled to make it worth your 2 nights that the bigger pay-per-views seem to be going in that direction. So, but yeah, I'm so happy we've been able to get back to the podcast. It's been missing from my life, and I love getting on here and talking wrestling with you. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back on Sunday and talk about this match. And this one, it'll probably be the shorter of the two. I assume Sunday's podcast will be a bit longer, and that we'll be either extremely happy or disappointed. So looking forward to that as well.
Couldn't agree more. It feels great to be back. You know, obviously been a little bit of a while. The PC, obviously that situation happened. I had to get used to this. I'm still not 100% used to it, but I'm a little bit more than I was. And yeah, you know, other things that took place there and then, busy Christmas periods or whatever. But yeah, looking forward to get back into it properly. And you know, as you said, just getting into a position where we can just talk about some wrestling for a while. It sounds great. It's what we're about. That's what we do. But hey, guys, Royal Rumble this coming Saturday. Really looking forward to the show. Should be great. Some top quality matches on the card, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a couple of good Royal Rumbles that are going to be brilliant ones to remember. Hopefully, that's what we can take from it, and some good winners as well. Fingers crossed. WrestleMania after that, you know, the road begins. This is the you know, the first stop on that journey, I suppose, basically. But guys, thank you for tuning in to the push with Nick and KP. This has been our Royal Rumble prediction. If you guys have anything that you want to say, let us know in the comments what you think of our predictions or what you think is going to happen yourselves. And yeah, let us know. Maybe hit a like or subscribe on the channel just to let us know that we're doing a decent job. And yeah, this is our return. Hope you guys liked it. And we'll see you all on Sunday for our next one, or sometimes just afterwards when we've done the video anyway. But cheers, guys. It's been the push from Nick and KP, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you next time.